This
the meeting,
conference will now be recorded.
as regular chair Dick Kilhart can't make today's meeting. So we are ready, and Travis, whenever you want to begin.
Sure, let's start off with the introduction. And how do we want to do this? Do we just go real quick?
I'll just read down the participants, and they can say here, and if I miss anyone, just let me know.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Brian Doherty.
Present.
Amanda Reed.
Present.
Ben Berger of Mass.D District 2, sorry. Ben Berger, are you here?
Seems to be. I think he's muted. This is Daryl from District 2.
Okay. I'm Brad Harris from the MRPC. Brian Doheny. No?
Looks like he's here. His camera's on, or he shows up down below.
Daryl Amaral, Mass. District 2.
Good afternoon. This is Daryl. I'm here.
George Cahaley, Mart.
Present.
George Snow, MRPC.
Here.
Jackie. Jackie, I don't have your last name up here, so I'm not sure.
Doherty, Jackie Doherty. Sorry, I thought I was not on mute.
All right, and you're from Athol, right?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
thank you.
Janet Tice.
Here.
Liz Murphy, Fitchburg.
Here.
Neil.
Hi, Neil Angus from Devons.
Welcome.
Here. Thanks.
Nicholas Erickson, Fitchburg.
Present.
Richard Mackey.
Present.
Robert Sozik.
Here.
Sarah Bradbury, Mascot.
Here.
Susan Templeton from Senator Cronin's office.
Here.
Tim Kilhart, Harvard.
Here.
Tom Bigelow from Green International.
Here.
Tracy Murphy, Westminster.
Here.
Travis Gunnan, North Central Mass Chamber.
Here.
And Veronica, I'm assuming Veronica Kell.
Here.
Okay. And so we do have a quorum. Thank you all for being patient with us.
All right, thank you. Now let's move on to the public comment period.
Anyone has any comments they'd like to share before we begin? Nope, doesn't look like it. I don't see any raised hands.
All right, so we can move on to item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the January 11th, 2023 minutes.
And again, we do this by consensus, so if there's no problems with it, or if there are any issues with the minutes, just let us know. And if otherwise, if there's no objections, we'll approve them as based on the consensus of the board. Is there any problems with the minutes? Again, I don't see any raised hands. So with that, if there's no objections, we'll consider the minutes approved.
Approved.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to item number 4 on the agenda, the Montachusett Limited English Proficiency, the LEP plan for the TIP, for the discussion on that.
Okay, that is my to go over. So hopefully you got a copy of the LEP, came in the mail, in the emails with the meeting agenda. I'm just going to briefly go over what the plan is and why we did it, and get a recommendation from JTC for the MPO, who will be meeting next week on whether to endorse the plan or not. Brian, could you bring up the plan? So basically, as an introduction, the MRPC, we're in the midst of our 5th decade providing technical assistance to its 22 member communities. Brian, if you want to give me control of the presentation? Okay. I need to pull up this, share, and move to here. There we go. Okay. So, as I mentioned, we are in the midst of our 5th decade of providing assistance and strategic planning assistance to our member communities. And as part of this, the MPO is committed to assisting individuals for whom English is not their primary language, and who have, and we want them to understand and have access to the MPO programs, activities, and services. And because of that limited English proficiency individuals, those who don't have a good understanding of English, face a barrier to assessing and accessing all the important benefits or services and the important information that goes on. So the LEP is devised to try and identify those populations that are affected by this and how we, as an MPO, can provide assistance to members when they request. In this LEP, this is an update to when it was done in 2019. And we utilized the 2021 American Community Survey, their 5-year estimates, and their detailed tables, which you see the numbers up in here as to what that is. But most people living in the U.S. Read, write, speak, and understand English. There are many individuals, however, for whom English is not their primary language. So based on the 2021 ACS 5-year estimate, 8.23%, or 25.5 million people of the United States population that are age 5 and older, or approximately 310 million people, speak English less than very well. And that's the definition for limited English proficiency. Of those individuals, 62.9% speak Spanish, 2.3% speak French, Haitian, or Cajun, 7.1% speak Chinese, including Mandarin and Cantonese, 3.46% speak Vietnamese, and 24.17% speak other languages altogether. This table here shows you that breakdown on the American statistics. Now, that Spanish speaking is 62% of that 25 million that speak English less than very well. Excuse me. So, what is the LEP and why do we do it? It's developed to identify reasonable steps to provide language assistance for LEP persons who seek meaningful access to the MPO programs as required by an executive order known as Executive Order 31166. And a definition of a limited English person is one who does not speak English as their primary language and has a limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English. So the MPO's extent of obligation is to provide LEP services. The MPO undertook what is known as a U.S. Department of Transportation 4-factor analysis, and that includes the following. The number one is the number or proportion of LEP persons eligible in the service area who are likely to encounter an MPO program, activity, or service. So to start this, we look at the 2021 American Community Survey, and again, their 5-year estimates, to determine how many people in our region are limited English, classified as limited English proficiency. What we found out is that based on the data available, approximately 5.02%, or 11,844 individuals within our region are classified as speaking English less than very well. Now, this is a population, again, of age 5 and over. So all told in our region, we have a population estimated at 236,131. And of those 236,000, 11,848 are limited English proficient. So that's what's considered the again population for the region. The majority of, if we look at these in a further breakdown, the majority of these individuals reside in Clinton, Fitchburg, Harvard, and Leominster. Each of these communities has an LEP population percentage that exceeds Montachusett regional average of 5.2%. And I'll just jump a little ahead to the table. This is a table for the region of our communities of the populations of 5 and plus who speak English very well. Now, for our regional average, it is 5.02%. And you can see, as I mentioned, the communities of Clinton, Fitchburg, Harvard, and Leominster all exceed that regional average of 5%. Harvard appears to be is a curious case. People often look at that and say, why is Harvard incorporated or listed as a limited English proficient community? And when we look at it, it can be explained by looking at the census tract and the block group data for our communities. In Harvard, in the northwest section of the town, bordering Route 2 and Shirley, is the Devens Federal Medical Center and the Devens Prison Camp. And the populations of those are incorporated into the census tracts there. And when it's combined for the entire community, that pushes it over that to that 6.16% that you see here, and pushes them over our regional average. If we look at the separate block groups separately, there's the one with those prison camp and the Devens Medical Center. They have a population approximately of 8.33% of limited English proficient individuals, while the remaining other block group is at like 4.7%. So those two combined push it over. So that's why Harvard is included in this. And in past, when we've looked at a lot of this information, Shirley has popped up because of the prison facilities and so forth, and that incorporate into their town. So that is a sort of an outlier in our region. One other thing we want to notice and indicate to people that in the 2021 ACS estimates, when we tried to do a comparison looking back at our 2019 LEP plan, there's been a change in definitions that the census has put together. In the 2019 plan, we were using estimates that were known as the 2015 American Community Service estimates. And now we're up to 2021, obviously. But the most common, in the prior LEP analysis, the most common language categories were identified as Spanish or Spanish Creole, French, Portuguese, Chinese, Hmong. Language categories now in this new 2021 ACS are defined as Spanish, separate, French, including Haitian or Cajun, Chinese, including Mandarin and Cantonese, Vietnamese, German or other West Germanic languages, Russian, Polish, or other Slavic languages, other Indo-European languages, Korean, including Filipino, and other Asian Pacific Island languages. So they grouped a lot of these languages together. So in a one-to-one comparison, we weren't able to break out them and look at them separately. So we sort of combined them into a group called All Other Languages Combined for our region to look at these numbers. Now I think I can bring that table up if I have it. Yes. This is the language breakdown for our region of people who speak English less than very well. Now, again, in the last LEP, Spanish included Creole and Haitian and so forth. We also had Portuguese as a separate breakdown, but Portuguese is now included in other Indo-European languages with Italian, Dutch, and so forth. So there's not a breakout available that way. But the categories they do provide us, we're able to see that in our region, of the 11,848 people who speak English less than very well, 62% of those speak Spanish. 5.58% of those speak French, Haitian, or Cajun. 2.52% speak Chinese, including Mandarin and Cantonese. Here's the 12.68% with the other Indo-European languages, which would again include Portuguese, Italian, Dutch, and so forth. 3.3% for Vietnamese, and all the other languages 13.67%. So what does this mean? Usually when we set up the LEP, we want to look at the top languages that we are likely to encounter in our MPO planning activities. In the last go-round in 2019, that was Spanish, French, and Portuguese. This go-round, look at the data we had available from the 2021 5-year estimates. We're looking at Spanish, French, and that would be it. Because the other languages aren't broken down sufficiently enough for us to determine their overall percentage. We at the Planning Commission and the MPO have decided that we're going to include Portuguese as a potential language problem for our region, simply because it was identified last time, and we decided we needed enough development of the material that we'll talk about in a second for Portuguese, so we wanted to keep that available for individuals just as a sort of as a courtesy. We didn't want to change up and drop something at this time. So that is what is known as factor one, identifying the population within our region that might come in. And then factor number two is the frequency with which LEP individuals come into contact with an MPO program. We have not had any requests for interpretive services or translated documents since the last LEP update in 2019. As a matter of fact, in 2019, we hadn't had any requests either. So it's been, we have not had any complaints or issues so far. We try to make announcements and related to the TIP, the UPWP, and our transportation plan. We try to make stuff disseminated in both English and Spanish. We also still try to make the MRPC website available for translation through Google Translate. And our website, as I mentioned, our website has Google Translate, so people should be able to identify, read some of it and get some basic information. But to date, we haven't had any requests per se for any kind of language services. Excuse me. Factor number three, as we move on, is the nature and importance of the program, activity, or service provided by the MPO to the LEP population. So whereas a Planning Commission operate our program and services in compliance with federal non-discrimination laws, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, and related statutes and regulations. So the things that we do that might impact these types of populations include the Regional Transportation Plan, which we are in the midst of updating right now. And so we are having, again, our announcements put out in Spanish, and we'll do French too if needed. So we try to make sure that we can cover individuals in that during our transportation plan update. We also are doing a update to what's known as the Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. That is another update that deals with transportation for certain categorized populations, targeted populations, disabled, elderly, and so forth. And working with CHNA, the Community Health Network of North Central Mass. We are hoping to identify the transportation needs to work with them to make these services available to those with limited English proficiency. And again, these are some of the services we're working on that may impact these individuals. A little bit further. And finally, the fourth update, or the fourth factor, is the resources available to the MPO and overall cost to provide assistance, LEP assistance. We don't have any cost numbers at this point because we have not had to do any translation services, but we have identified, staff that might speak a different language, other services out there for language interpreters, volunteers. CHNA has been helpful in that aspect too, in identifying possible places for us to go for translation services. MassDOT provides a number of translated documents in various languages if we need to, and they have their Office of Civil Rights where we could go to discuss with them possible places where you can get some translation services. So we do have the ability to do some translations. It's a matter of timing, but we do have the services available if we get any requests so far. So we think we have the ability to do that under our transportation planning contracts. So after looking at these 4 factors, we try to develop sort of an implementation plan as to what we can do to ensure that these things continue. Excuse me. So again, is what we decided before was as with the 2021 estimates that gave us only Spanish and French as exceeding our regional population. We've decided to maintain the outreach documents that we have in Portuguese because of the last time we did that. We've gone back and looked at records for, again, language assistance and have not come up with those, but we work with our staff to identify how they can address those types of individuals if they call in, what needs to be done. We also will, when appropriate, when we hold workshops and meetings in person, we'll try and have things available like I speak cards that a person coming into the meeting can use to show what language they speak, and then we may be able to provide further assistance afterwards based upon what they tell us. And again, if we get information beforehand, we will try and provide assistance during the meeting there. We also will look at MPO staff training, how to keep the staff up to date on the latest regulations and their responsibilities. So we would work with staff to, again, tell them their Title VI responsibilities, how to use the I Speak cards, how to access a staff interpreter if available, how to handle a complaint. We do have complaint forms and discrimination assurances and individual rights flyers and bulletins posted in our conference rooms that identifies what their rights and protections are, and then how they could file a complaint if they felt it was necessary. And that information is also available on our website. So if an individual attended something and they felt they had a problem, they could go to our website to see the complaint forms and the procedures there that are, again, available in English, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. And then there's the monitoring and updating the LEP plan. We need to keep on top of this, and we do this usually through, we are required to do an annual report on Title VI activities to Mass DOT, and part of that is updating the LEP plans. So we will continue to monitor and adjust and look at the statistics available to identify those populations and see if there's ways that we need to improve or expand our outreach efforts. So that in a nutshell is sort of what the LEP does. It outlines who our target audiences are, what we need to do to make sure they can feel included in the transportation planning process, and what their rights and roles and responsibilities are. So we put this document together, put it out for a 21-day public review and comment period. That comment period ends next week, just before the start of the MPO meeting. And we are asking for comments at this meeting, if anyone has any. They can still also send it to us in writing through our email. And then we are then asking the MJTC for a recommendation to the MPO as to whether or not they feel this document should be endorsed by the full MPO. That is what I have, and I will give the screen back to you, Brian.
Brad, can I ask a question? Janet
Sure.
Tice. So the public comment period, what is the process by which MRPC distributes or communicates this document to the public in order to get input, because I mean, I never received it.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
obviously, I'm part of this group, and so you're making me aware of it, but I
Yeah.
had not previously received it, and I'm certainly on many of the email distribution lists that MRPC uses for other
Mhm.
things.
We again send out an initial notice. It was that uh, flyer you saw, or announcement memo indicating the availability of the document in a 21-day period. We send that to everyone on our mailing list, so that's the starting point. It's also posted on our website under usually the announcement page, where we try to make it announce the availability of the documents. Um, and then we rely too on, again, our contacts in the individual uh, organizations that let them know what we're doing and having them help us distribute the information. As I mentioned, the Chana group has been helpful, helping us reach different organizations that we don't normally reach. We also encourage anyone who has any uh, names of groups, organizations, individuals they feel would be interested. Give them to us. We'll add them to our mailing list. We want to make sure we can get information to them. So that's one way we also do. But basically, we rely a lot on the website and the distribution of those memos and postings in the some of the communities post it into town halls and so forth. So,
Mhm. All right, thank you.
yep,
Brad, this is
yep,
this is Neil Angus from Devens. Just had a
yep.
question for you regarding, I saw the anomaly in Harvard, given the prison population, that makes total sense. Did you guys consider including Devens, the Devens Regional Enterprise Zone, as a separate entity, which would encompass that whole federal medical facility at Camp Devens? Um,
I, I don't think we have. I don't know if I'd have to go back and check and see if the population estimates are broken down in a way that
I,
we
I
could allocate
yeah,
to Evans.
I think it's worth looking into because Devens is listed on the Census Bureau as a census designated place.
Okay.
And while most of the numbers do include the prison population, they do have a total civilian non-institutional population listed, which excludes the prison. So there might be some useful information to include and, desegregate from Harvard, Air, and Shirley and include Devens.
Okay, we'll take a look at that, see if we have that information. And our GIS is the individuals who normally help us with the census data and helping us allocate it. So I'll reach out to them, and if need be, can we give you a call to just
Happy, happy,
discuss?
happy to, yeah, happy to communicate with you and help out
Okay,
where I can. Appreciate you
all
looking
right,
into it.
thank you.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
Beth Paxson from Townsend.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm related. I haven't reviewed the report yet. But the LEP action plan, is there any content in that plan to help local municipalities implement or create our own LEP action plan? Or is there a requirement anywhere for local municipalities to follow this? Because this is a great plan
Mhm.
that I think we could all find useful in the public administration.
I don't know if there's a requirement for local municipalities. It was established to Executive Order 13166, improving access to services for persons with limited English proficiency. And that
Hmm.
came out in, I guess it was reprinted in 2000, um,
Hmm.
which directs each federal agency that is subject to the requirements of Title VI to publish guidance for its respective recipients, clarifying that obligation.
Okay.
So I don't know if that follows through to individual municipalities.
Hmm.
Um, we haven't done that with the municipalities, so we're charged to look at all our regions that we participate in, all our communities that we participate with us.
Hmm.
Um, I would have to say that it might be something for your town solicitor or lawyer to look at to see if there's a requirement. Um, I would assume that if there was, you would have heard by now from some group that they needed to look at this, but um,
Yeah.
We're more than
So
happy to provide any, guidance that we do or any assistance that we do to a town if they want to look at something.
yeah, that would be great because they're, your practices are very, very well laid out and researched, and I think this would be great for municipalities to do the same. Thank you.
Yep, problem. Any other questions? Doesn't look it. So, is there a recommendation from the MJTC for the to recommend that the MPO endorse the LEP as presented?
I so move. Janet Tice.
Okay.
I second.
All right. Any objections to the motion? I do not see any hands raised. So I will assume it's passed. The recommendation's passed to encourage the MPO to endorse the LEP as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I believe we're going to be moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, the 2024 to 2028 fiscal year Montachusett Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. We're going to have a review and discussion of the initial project listing and then a review of the funding targets.
Yeah, that is Brian.
All right, Brian, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Yep, so there's been a few different updates since we last met in January in regards to the updating of the 24 through 28 TIP. The first handout we have is we have gotten our target allotments. And again, this is the target section is where the MPO has discretion on placing projects in the TIP. There's also a statewide prioritized section and a transit section. But majority of our conversations in the JTC and the MPO occur in regards to the target section. Can you see the handouts on my screen, or did I just unshare that?
You just unshared it.
No,
can't see them.
You get those back up and I can go over. Okay, so you should see the handout on the total regional target comparison.
It's there now,
So this
Brian.
is a comparison of the current 2023 through 27 TIP target allotment numbers in each federal fiscal year and our new numbers, which we'll be going off of in the right-hand column. And as you can see, we're dropping federal fiscal year 2023 in this go around, and we're adding 2028. And the target allotments for years 24, 25, 26 are all the same as what we had from last year. We do see a large bump in our target numbers in 2027 and continuing in 2028. An increase of about $2.5 million over what we currently considered 2027 last year, and that is directly related to the federal GANs payments that the state has been making. GANs payments are grant anticipation notes, and these are basically what we borrowed from the federal government to fund, in this case, the accelerated bridge program the last several years. And the Commonwealth will be finished with those payments tentatively in 2027. So that's why we see a large increase in our target allotments for that year and the following year in 2028. So that is what we're planning on this go around. The next handout is our world of projects for our target section. So these are all eligible to be funded through our target section on the TIP. Number of them have been listed on prior versions of the TIP. You can see in the left-hand column where a particular project was placed on the current 23 through 27 TIP, and a number of projects which have not been assigned a year. Those are listed in the appendix for varying reasons. Either they have not progressed in design, or we just simply haven't been able to fit them on a federal fiscal year. This spreadsheet also doubles as a transportation evaluation criteria score reference, and we score each of these projects using our evaluation criteria, in which we look at the effects that the project will have on facilities condition, pavement condition, the mobility congestion issues on the road network. We look at crash statistics, where the projects are, and what the effects the build of the project will have on the safety issues, any community support we consider, as well as land use and economic development, and either positive or negative impacts on environmental issues. So this is sort of like a master list of all the eligible target section projects. And we do not have our valuation score sheet, but we're always willing to look over a community's project with them and go over how we scored each project in detail. And certainly if there's any new information that a community feels that we need to know about a project, that is always useful as well. At the bottom of this spreadsheet, we have two new projects that we hadn't included last year. They just come on board in the last year. That is Sterling intersection improvements at 140 and 62, and Winchendon intersection improvements at Blair Square. And these have not been scored yet by our staff. We plan on doing this in the next week or so. We're gathering some information from the design consultants in these communities, and we plan on having a valuation score and adding it to the list. So this is a preliminary look at our target project listing. Basically, I just took how we had projects lined up from our current TIP, and I updated the target numbers. And what you see under each federal fiscal year is a total amount funded in each year. The target allotment that we've gotten from Mass DOT, and the balance remaining after that. And it's a fiscally constrained document, so we cannot assign projects over our target allotment, but the idea is to use up the most amount of the target balance as we possibly can. What happens to the balance if we don't use it all? It just basically just goes back into the state coffers and will be used statewide, whether it be in our region or elsewhere. So the point is to use up as much of this target allotment as we possibly can each year. As of now, we have Leominster reconstruction of Route 12 in 2024 as our only project in this first year of the TIP. And that project is also carried over into 2025 as well. Also in 2025, we have Ashburnham Road rehab on 101. In 2026, we have Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road, and Templeton reconstruction of Route 68. The second half of that Harvard project is carried over into 2027, along with Clinton reconstruction on Sterling Street, which is Route 62, and Athol intersection improvements at 2A and Brookside Road. The new year, 2028, we'll be adding this go around. So we'll be looking at projects from the appendix projects here to bring up and to list in a fiscal year of this update. So one thing that we did do yesterday was we met with various project proponents from Mass DOT to discuss mostly project readiness, which is always one of the main topics when we build this list. We discussed each project that we have listed and also the appendix projects to determine what we can expect. And one of the main points of our meeting yesterday was, it looks like our fiscal year 2024/25 project Leominster reconstruction on Route 12 may need to be pushed back at least 1 year. So that is going to be a main topic of discussion at next month's meeting as we go over some of the scenarios and as we look at trying to fill in some of the gaps in funding in 2024 and some of the other years as well. So we'll have a more in-depth construction conversation on the target listing in March, and we'll likely present a few different scenarios to the JTC so we can get some feedback and also a recommendation to the MPO as well. Other than that, we'll be reaching out to some of the communities in the next couple of weeks regarding that project, see if we can get some additional information from design consultants and also DOT to determine where we're standing on placement of some of these projects going forward. So that's all I have for now, and we always encourage anyone to come forward and if they'd like to discuss their project, specifically the evaluation criteria, or if you think that there may be some information that we need to hear on the design status, that's always helpful as well.
I'll just jump in here for a quick second. At the MPO meeting next week, the City of Gardner will be coming in with one of their consultants to talk about a project they have. It has to do with the North Central Pathway and extending or some connections. So they're presenting, what that proposal is and how they're progressing with that. I don't know if they've gotten a actual project number yet, but we encourage any of our communities, if they do have a project, even if it's in the very early stages, to come in and talk to us and present something to the MPO and MJTC, because that just helps us make decisions later on down the road if we have a better knowledge of what the project is or what it encompasses and who it impacts and what it can do.
Yeah, Brad, Janet Tice again.
Yep.
In terms of that, in terms of one of the communities coming, before you to present a project that's not currently on the list, is there a cutoff date by which we would have to do that?
Well, I probably within the next by March, within the March meeting, probably be the latest, because after that we're getting into the actual funding scenarios. So if we're making decisions on a project, we have that knowledge, if we have that information up front. Brian, I guess the timing too is a question for you to
Yeah, and I think we'd always welcome a presentation on a project. Obviously, as we build the tip list this time of year, it's always this time of year every year. We typically had presentations in February and March. When it gets into April, it's kind of late in the process. It's always good to have the information, but this is the ideal time of year, I guess. But we're always welcome to a presentation on a project.
Yeah, at any time during the year.
Review any of these projects as well.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead, Janet.
Is a presentation welcome if it is pre-design phase? In other words, if it's more just a conceptual project idea as opposed to a project that's already in or completed the design phase?
Yeah, it's more than welcome for a community to come and talk to us about it. We can also, what happens is the JTC sits around, looks at it, and you might get some opinions from some of the people who have been through something similar. It may give you some tips and some things to watch out for. The tip listing is for projects that have been approved. So they've got a project ID number from MassDOT. And if you're at that point where you're just starting the application process, you may not have a whole lot to what you're doing, but it's certainly helpful for the communities to come in and talk to us and get some feedback from their, counterparts and see what they've done and how they've approached it. So it can't hurt at any time to bring that information to the JTC or the MPO. But if you're looking for specific placement on the tip for a certain year, the project needs to be an approved project.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And there is a defined process for that. I know Janet and Shirley has been through it in recent years. I can think of a few. Townsend Road, I know, has gone through the tip. There have been others as well. There's a defined process, and that basically starts off with contacting District 3 in Shirley's case to just discuss a project. I know they like to get a good idea before things really get on paper, to talk to the community about what's possible and what their intentions are and what their ability to fund design is and that type of thing. So we're always available as a sounding board, but also district office as well, I know.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Hey, Brad, this is Nick Erickson from City of Fitchburg here. I noticed that our John Fitch Highway project scored pretty highly on your rankings. I think it was second after a project in Leominster. But I did see that it hasn't been assigned to a specific year in the TIP yet. So I'm wondering what we as a city can do to advocate for that project. I'm relatively new to this role and certainly the overall process. So happy to learn and get any feedback from you folks on what we can do to improve and advocate for that specific project.
I think, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, all right. I think this is a new project, first year that we've had it on our TIP listing.
Yes, this came on last year, the Fitchburg project, and we had just scored it for the first time last year. I know it's progressing in design, and that's one of the main points that we look at when we look at assigning a year.
The best thing I can say is to keep us informed as to the status of the project, where it is in the design. We have it listed at 25%. That may be correct. It may be wrong. You may have information that you've already submitted, 50% designs to MassDOT or so forth. We can also send you the individual scoring criteria that came up with that overall total number, so that you may have additional information that might help us score better the project. And then we're willing to sit down and, as Brian said, sit down and talk with you about the project individually and go over those scorings to see that it's more reflective of the actual project. And then, as you said, also the most important thing is the design, keeping the design rolling and moving forward, and especially with issues related to cost and so forth. So as the TIP is developed, two of the main criteria end up being that design status and the cost of the project. So if it's at 25% design, it doesn't have a strong chance of going out in the first year of the TIP, So that's why it's good to know where we actually stand in the design process and what Mass DOT thinks too. On the whole process.
And Nicholas, we did look at this project last year when it first came on, and we met with Fitchburg when we looked at the valuation criteria scoring, and they helped us along with figuring out what exactly is the plan out there. So that was very helpful, and it is a relatively new project, but and we met with DOT yesterday, and we discussed it a bit, and we realized that the process is moving forward, and that the design consultant is progressing in plans as well. So it's something that we anticipate, given the high TEC score and also just the progression of the status and so forth. That's something we would anticipate looking at listing in the near future, probably.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for the feedback. We have a meeting with Mass DOT, comment resolution meeting next Tuesday, I believe. So the process definitely is moving forward. We've got Fox and O'Neill under contract to finish out the rest of the design and get us all the way through 100% in PS&E eventually. So looking forward to continue working with you guys.
Good. And also for the other communities too, we're also more than willing to talk about your project and the individual scoring on that particular project. Just reach out to us and we can set something up and discuss it with you. Okay. Any other questions? No, I believe we're set then on that.
Thank you. And so moving on to item number 6 on the agenda, the Montachusett Regional Transportation Plan, the RTP update. And Brian, is that you again?
Yeah, I can take this as well. And there are no handouts for this. The last few months, as everyone knows, we've been going over the goals, objectives, strategies, and performance measures for the Regional Transportation Plan. We went over those in detail in January. And since that time, we received a few comments from JTC and MPO members, as well as from the Transit Authority, Martin. We're working on incorporating these comments and fine-tuning them into what will be a final goals, objectives, strategies, and performance measures chapter to put in the RTP. So that's something that is on the horizon, and we don't plan on going over in complete detail. We have some follow-up to do with those individuals on some of the proposed changes. But we'll wrap that up and present that to the JTC likely in March. In other RTP related news, we've collected our paper survey boxes that have gone out to other libraries and councils on agings in the region. So about 44 boxes in all, there's 22 communities. So we're working at inputting that information from those paper surveys into the Survey Monkey, which is still available live on our website as well. And the one more update I have for the RTP is there is a meeting scheduled for, I can find it in the handouts, next Thursday, a transportation open forum. And this is in collaboration with Mass DOT and their long range plan and our Montachusett regional transportation plan, as well as help with the discussion from Chennai 9, which is the Health Equity Partnership of North Central Mass. This is for next Thursday. It's virtual on Zoom. The information is on this handout at 10 o'clock through 11:30. We'll be discussing the state program, the state plan, as well as our plan. And there'll be also a discussion on the possibility of Transportation Management Association. So this is something that is open to everybody, and we encourage anyone with interest to attend this Zoom meeting and listen to what the state has going on and what we have going on, and Chennai 9 as well. So we're still on track to hopefully have a draft of the RTP in May, and at the latest June, and endorsement in June or at the latest July. So we'll have some more updates next month.
And just to follow up on that, what Brian said, this announcement on the transportation forum is on our website. Brian, could you go to our website first? We had another question too about the survey, the public transportation survey. This is our website, the opening page. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see under the announcements section, take the Montachusett RTP Public Outreach Survey. You click on that, it'll take you to the links to actually do the survey online. So I hope that answers your question there. You can see right here. And this is the link that says Montachusett Public Outreach Survey. You would just click on that and you'll go right to Survey Monkey to fill things in. And feel free to send that to other people who you think might be interested in it. And then if you back up to the front page again, Brian. The transportation forum is right down here on the end under announcements. It's Chennai 9, MRPC, and MassDOT announced a transportation open, and should be a transportation open forum to be held February 16th. So clicking on that will take you right to the flyer and the links to sign up too. So most of the stuff we put up here is for handouts for the JTC are also available usually on our website. So. Okay.
And that's all I have for RTP update for now.
Oh, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I believe we're ready to move on to item number 7 on the agenda, the contract status reports.
I do not have anything new for FTA and RTA, and for additional RTA comments, I would turn it over to George Cahaley if he has anything. George?
Yes, yes. The only thing I have is Martha will be installing this year about 18 bus shelters in Atoll, Gardner, Fitchburg, and Leominster. And if anyone have a specific location they like to see a shelter on our bus routes, any suggestion, please send it to me.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you, George. And
Thank you.
if you can't get it to George, send it to us. We'll forward it to him. Make sure he gets it.
Okay.
I can go on to Mass Department of Transportation, the 3C,
Perfect.
our updates. Basically, as I mentioned earlier, the MPO is we're meeting next week on February 15th at 1 p.m. And the major action item will again be seeking the endorsement of the LEP plan that we just presented earlier. And then I have a number of handouts that I'll try and go through fairly quickly, or not too quickly. The first is a Northern Tier Passenger Rail Study handout from Mass DOT. It's an announcement regarding the availability of the January 11th public workshop presentation and a recording for review. The announcement provides the link to the study website and a comment form to submit comments and questions. This handout, again, is also available on our website, the MRPC website, with all of the other links available under announcements. I will say I did attend the January 11th public workshop. They provided some alternatives, sort of a low end and a high end alternative. And, low end was still over $1 billion. The high end was $2 billion or more. But I think one issue that they have that I think should be made known to our region is the initial service they're looking at in this phase that they're in now has a stop in starts in like Pittsfield, has a stop in between Greenfield, and then there is no stop between them and Fitchburg. And I think there needs to be, we expressed our concern about needs to be, consideration for stops in Gardner and Athol. And they indicated that that's something they would look at in the second phase of the study, where they would add more stops and more stations along the way. But I think it's important if you're interested in the Northern Tier passenger rail that you take a look at this presentation so you can understand what they're doing and maybe make a comment about additional stops between here, Fitchburg, and Greenfield. The next handout I have is just an announcement from MassDOT on a virtual public design public hearing that's scheduled for next week, February 16th at 6 p.m. They're going to talk about ADA retrofits at various locations throughout the district, and this includes the town of Winchendon. So just making this available for anyone who's interested. Please see the handout. There is a QR code on the handout and a link provided for registration of at this public hearing. The next handout I have, Brian covered the Transportation Forum for everybody. Then there is a flyer of a workshop or webinar that's coming up right after our meeting, and that's why we decided to move the meeting. It's from Federal Highway on a webinar preparing for upcoming discretionary grant opportunities. This would include, I think, a lot of the stuff that comes under the bill, the bipartisan infrastructure law. We moved our meeting up so people could attend this if they were interested. So we have some individuals who will be attending for us also. So if you're interested, maybe some of these new programs, this might be a good opportunity to hear what they have to say. My next discussion has to do with the Unified Planning Work Program. It was on the full agenda today. Basically, at this point, we are put together a memo that we sent out to all our communities talking about the UPWP and soliciting potential projects for studies or tasks in the UPWP. And as we show in the list, it could be things like intersection analysis studies, corridor analysis, walkability, bikeability, so on and so forth. So please take a look at it. If your community has something they'd like to discuss with us, feel free to give us a call or an email. Formal submittal of a request needs to be we've set the end of the month as a deadline. And by formal, I mean it comes to the chief elected officials, either the board of selectmen or the mayor of your community, to us asking for, we'll consider a certain proposal as a study or a UPWP task. But we can talk to you in between then to help you put something together or to see what we're talking about and put together the best concept or proposal that you might be interested in. So again, feel free to email myself or Sherry Bean, and we can discuss potential projects. I just received in, I don't know if Brian, you probably haven't gotten it. If you give me the share again real quick. I will, okay. Window, where am I? Chrome, not Chrome. Here we go. Share. And I want to go to this handout. I just received this today, an email about the Mass Freight Plan for 2023. Mass DOT is updating this freight plan. They have they're looking to do a number of focus groups in February and March. And they're asking if individuals are interested in participating in a focus group. There's a link here for SurveyMonkey to talk to them about it. Also, they are announcing that the second Freight Advisory Committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 23rd at 11 a.m. It's a virtual meeting. It's open to the public. You can register for this by going to mass.gov freight plan, to the freight plan website, and there's a registration link there that so you could sign up to go to the second Freight Advisory Committee meeting on February 23rd. And you can also sign up through there too for if you're interested in being part of one of these focus groups to discuss, freight issues in your community or in your industry or so forth. So we'll be posting this on our website within the next day or so, and I'll be sending out copies of this in the email to everybody else also, so that you can see some of this information. And the final handout I have has to do with the state, with the bipartisan infrastructure law program, grant opportunity program called Safe Streets for All, or SS4A. You may recall last year we applied as a region for the development of a safety action plan. We received notice from US DOT that our application was selected and is going to be funded. This handout on the first page is just the press release announcement from US DOT of the approval of a number of projects across the nation. Then we have a copy of the email we received announcing that the MRPC proposal was accepted, was selected for award. We put in for $750,000 in federal funding, and there's some matching from Mass DOT and MART and some other programs within the MRPC region. We don't have the money yet. It'll be a little while before that comes to us and gets up and running. They have to put together and work with us on the contract agreements and all the funding mechanisms and so forth. So we'll be talking with US DOT over the next few months, hopefully not too many months, about this program. And what we intend to do is hire an outside consultant to conduct basically a two-year program, a two-year study, to develop what's known as a safety action plan for the region. And with that safety action plan, once it's in place and accepted by the communities and individuals can go and apply for actual implementation funds for certain projects based upon what's in the plan. So this is the first step in making yourself eligible for other funding projects to your community and so forth. The last part of this handout is just a breakdown of who was awarded what in Massachusetts. And as you can see, some of the other RPAs also received funding. Barnstable County, the Cape Cod Commission, Berkshire Regional, MAPC out of Boston, the City of Salem and Somerville received awards. And then you have us on the second page that we received for development of an action plan of $750,000. Our total budget for this is $979,500. That includes, again, MassDOT meeting some of the match and additional funds from MART and the DLTA program that the Planning Commission runs in addition. So be on the lookout. In the future, we'll be talking with setting this up and beginning committees and stuff to help this thing go see it through to fruition. But it's planned to be a 2-year program. There needs to be a lot of public outreach and input in the development. So I think it's something good for the region, and hopefully it'll come out fairly nice for everybody involved. That is all I have. I'll stop sharing and give it back to Brian. And that's all I have on the update. Any questions?
Excellent. I think the only next thing we have is the administrative matters for the next meeting and then adjournment.
Okay. The next meeting will be Wednesday, March 8th at our normal start time of 2:30 p.m.
All right, and item 9, anyone has a move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you all for meeting the earlier start time.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.